Coming up on TechZilla, upgrading the aging PC without going broke. Samsung 8000, is this the best flat panel in 2010? DTS versus Dolby, mil-spec iPhones, great places to find DIY projects, and the new releases on Blu-ray for the week of December 21st, 2010. So grab your hot chocolate and rip a chunk out of the gingerbread house, because TechZilla starts now. This episode of TechZilla is made possible by The Ben Heck Show, building, modding, and electronics, brought to you exclusively by Element 14. Squarespace and Lucha Libre. Grab your mask and get directly into the ring with Los Heroes of Lucha Libre. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Welcome to TechZilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Hey, whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or the best type of tree for your living room, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down somebody who does.
Awesome.
Crazy week last week. Facebook kingpin Mark Zuckerberg, Times Person of the Year. Bing unleashed a laundry list of upgrades, including Facebook ties to search results. Hey, my friend liked this search link. And rumors are floating that OpenBSD, the operating system that's free, functional, and secure, has a backdoor in it placed by the FBI. OpenBSD folks are claiming it's a hoax and calling for a review of the source code just to make sure. Declan McCullough over at CNET has a good write-up, which includes the delightfully alarming line, in national security circles, it's an open secret that the U.S. government likes to implant backdoors in encryption products. Although, technically, OpenBSD is an operating system, not an encryption product, but it's a nice line. I suppose to give the whole rumor of the crack credence, in any case, BSD players are calling BS on this rumor, and kind of, I think they're irked mostly.
If it gets you to review the code and to ensure that there's an element of security there that should be there, I'm all for that.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, in other news, Google TV got upgrades too, including the spiffy new Dual View. It's a sort of picture-in-picture thing that lets you browse the web while watching video, along with the new Android remote control app and a, quote, movie results page that shows you all the films associated with the title so you can quickly watch what you want wherever it's available. Not bad. And AMD released the fastest GPU ever, the Radeon 6900 series, which features the Cayman architecture. They can hang now with NVIDIA's GTX 570 cards and beat the much more expensive GTX 580s in some areas. We'll be having Lloyd Case on next week to talk GPUs from entry level to cost is no object, so get your graphics questions into us quickly. And update your Catalyst drivers. I did. AMD released an upgrade to them last week, and I gotta say, they're nice. Well, I've seen it go both ways. They have a new interface for tweaking the drivers. Some people like it. Some people are like, just give me a checklist of stuff on one page.
Do you ever get paranoid about driver upgrades where you're like, I just want it to be out for a week before I upgrade my stuff, or firmware upgrades or software upgrades?
Not so much
Let
anymore.
the other people beta test.
Especially if you're a cutting edge gamer on personal computers, because usually there are also updates for specific game titles to fix little things that are quirky. And for that, you almost kind of have to. And if you're running a dual video card system or more, it's almost required because of the fixes that go into that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Apple's new AirPlay hasn't been accessible by anybody other than the owners of new Apple TVs or certain other rare pieces of electronics, or it wasn't until Erica Sadin fired out an alpha of her new app, AirPlayer, that lets your iOS gadget stream supported audio and video to a Mac. Check out ericasadin.com/FTP/Macintosh to download your copy. And apparently the Future Force Integration Directorate of the United States Army is getting ready to test a battalion out under the Connecting Soldiers to Digital Applications program.
And to quote, we are looking at everything from iPads to Kindles to Nook readers to mini projectors, Mike McCarthy, director of the Mission Command Complex of Future Force Integration Directorate, told Army Times.
You know, there's some solid ballistic software for the iPhone and iPad. Just saying.
I could go with that. How about your questions?
Yes. Let's talk upgrading your aging PC on a budget for Matt, who writes in, I've got a Pentium 4 PC. What would be the best way to squeeze out every last bit of speed and power out of it? I really can't afford a new computer. Just for reference, I usually use this computer for playing games. I'm going to get Portal 2, I'm scoring in Finale, and I'm browsing the web while listening to iTunes. Also, there are times when my computer is too slow to even watch a video on iTunes, so I end up watching TechZilla on my iPod Touch sitting at my desk. Thanks, Matt in Fort Worth, Texas.
Well, gaming is kind of tough. Yeah. I mean, I can tax the system more than just about anything, except for maybe video encoding.
Yeah, well, like 720, 480p, 720p, 720p, 1080p, H.264 video can hurt older machines. They simply, well, you know, try to do a 1080p H.264 video on a non-Ion Atom processor. Not going to happen.
I was going to say, part of that AMD update for the drivers we were just talking about included some nice updates for the acceleration of video decoding. So I'd say graphics card update would be in your future. I also, just off the top of my head, suggest if you haven't done it in a while, rebuild the system. If you have a copy of Windows, the full operating system disk, and you know what you're doing, please reinstall it. Windows 7 took me, I reinstalled that the other day, although you're probably not using that in your box. I think 15 minutes. Yeah. About 15 minutes to reinstall the OS, plus the associated updates and stuff. But yeah, that just seems to return speed to no matter what's been going on. Because you always forget about, oh, I installed some app that wasn't playing nice with everything else, and then I removed that app, and it probably didn't remove all of it and left some garbage in there. And yeah, I mean, that's tough.
Bit rot or cruft is the phrase for your operating system kind of degrades over time. Matt's got like a 3.6 gigahertz P4, 2 gigabytes of RAM, a 600 gigabyte hard drive, Windows XP. There's no point in going to 4 gigabytes of RAM with Windows XP, I don't think. I would really also think about a GPU upgrade, just for video alone, because you know just a newer, your machine could be PCI Express or AGP, but if you can get even an entry-level newer card, it's going to be significantly faster than the card that came with this machine, I bet. And that will actually offload the processing for that video, hopefully, depending on, if you have the latest drivers, we have to go to the beta drivers to do that.
If that's the P4, I remember, that's also one of the hottest CPUs ever, so I wouldn't try overclocking it any further unless you've got decent cooling. It's a tough one. And if you don't have an AGP slot, or if you do and you can't upgrade to a PCI card, that kind of limits you as well, because PCI is pretty much taken over at this point.
There are a couple AGP cards left, I think, like 4. That'd be a good question for Lloyd. If he knows
I had about 4 of them. I was trying to sell at a garage sale recently. I was selling them for about $5 to $10. Probably not what you're looking for, though.
Like Robert said, a fresh OS install and drivers can make a huge difference. HalfLifePortal.com guesstimates, they're an enthusiast site, they guesstimate your machine will just meet the requirements for Portal 2. The thing is, though, when you just meet the entry-level requirements for a game, it's almost always not a great gaming experience. But yeah.
I wouldn't spend $500 on a new graphics card, but something in the $250 range would give you a pretty good bang for the buck if you have that PCI slot. I'll take that back if you're dealing with AGP. I'm not as certain there.
Yeah, definitely. PCI Express, I think, is worth an upgrade. AGP, I would start really looking at a new processor and motherboard and GPU. Which case, save your pennies.
And if you do donate the system, wipe that hard drive or install Ubuntu on there before you hand it to somebody so your data is safe.
That would be embarrassing. And speaking of not embarrassing, the amazing Techzilla crew has raised enough cash for charity water to build a well for a village in need. Want to help provide water to 4 more villages? Go to revision3.com/ForwardFocus and vote for the Techzilla video on the page. There's the links on the bottom of the page that you can vote for each of the videos up there. The winning show has a $20,000 donation to charity water made in their name. And the show team kind of gets to go drive the 2012 Ford Focus in Madrid, Spain on a very, very cool testing ground outside of Madrid. Mr. Heron is very interested in this.
I want that. Help us out, people. I'm going to donate tonight again.
Well, this one, all you have to do is click. All you have to do is click on the link on the revision3.com/FordFocus site. Now, if you want to go on the Ford Focus Global Test Drive and get $10,000 to donate to your favorite charity, it's easy. Create a video telling the world why you should be one of the first to drive the all-new Ford Focus and what you would do with the $10,000 for the charity of your choice. Then submit your video at the Global Drive tab at facebook.com/FordFocus. And if you don't mind in your video or the submission comments, be sure to mention that you want Techzilla to win and join you in Spain. Ford and Revision 3, they've teamed up this December to start something more than a car. Please join us in raising money for charity and the chance to drive the 2012 Ford Focus in Madrid. Revision3.com/charitywater to donate yourself. Revision3.com/FordFocus if you want to help us win the contest, get $20,000 to Charity Water in Techzilla's name. Yes. And Facebook.com/FordFocus for the Global Drive to enter your video so you can go to Madrid, Spain and drive the 2012 Ford Focus, which is a really fun car to drive.
Help a good cause and help me get a new stamp in my fresh passport. I love that.
I want to see an RS version of the Ford Focus.
That too. I have a question. Have I found the perfect LED LCD, or at least the best LCD panel of 2010? Please keep watching.
I want to thank Los Heroes of Lucha Libre, one of our sponsors this week. Grab your mask, get directly into the ring with Los Heroes of Lucha Libre. Heroes del Ring delivers an authentic bilingual gaming experience that mimics move for move the brute strength and gravity-defying acrobatics of real-life Lucha Libre. If that's not enough, you can even choose from over 30 AAA wrestlers and use their signature moves as well. Do you want to fly? Who do you want to jump? Where do you want to seek revenge? Excite the crowd and your luchador's popularity will increase, allowing you to perform special moves. Start following the game today by becoming a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/AAA Heroes or following Heroes on Twitter at AAA Heroes for all the latest news and video updates. Do us a favor, check out LuchaLibreTheGame.com. You'll find everything you need to know about the world of Lucha Libre. Get your mask on, people. Make mayhem. One of our most anticipated HD TVs this year, Samsung's first 3D set on the market, the 46-inch 8000 series 3D 1080p LED HD TV. Basically, this whole 8000 series, are they from 42 to 55 or 46?
There's a 65-inch now, so you have a 46, a 55, and a 65-inch model that are available. So a good selection of screen sizes. This happens to be the 46-inch model we're looking at right here. Part of that C8000 series of LCD, LED LCD lit televisions. The 46-inch model right now lists for about $1,900 online, which is a little pricey.
This actual television is responsible for me pulling back. I was ready. I was gonna buy the Optoma projector, and then I saw the blacks on this thing on a display in a store, and it is amazing.
Part of that premium is, one, it's a 3D ready TV, so while it doesn't include the glasses or movies, you can upgrade to that easily enough, and the transmitter's built into the set, so there's really nothing to add other than the glasses and the starter pack, essentially. With LED edge lighting, you get very efficient energy consumption. We tried really hard to see how much power we could get this thing to suck down. When it's showing very little on the screen, it gets to around 50 watts. Wow. When we turned it up to vivid mode, which you probably should never see anyway, I think we peaked it at about 160 watts. So on average, for a full screen movie playing, you usually keep it at 100 watts or less, which is not bad at all nowadays. Usually, actually around 70 to 80 watts. So super efficient. Some of the features built into the set, actually, I'm going to hit the button. I got to say, nice brushed metal remote to go with the brushed metal bezel on this TV, and a chrome-plated base stand that, take it or leave it, you may or may not. You may not care for that. I think it's pretty stylish, but it's definitely not for everybody. Let me just pop this up and hit the content button, and it brings up a nice 3D menu on the set. And I'll just scroll around
3D,
that.
like I need the glasses 3D or
No,
3D?
no, I mean just like it'll actually do a little whirl here, and it includes, well, 3D settings, of course. All share, which would be your DLNA style streaming to the TV. We've talked about that a little bit. And media play, if you connect your USB or over your network, you can stream content to the set as well. Has a couple of USB ports on back. Internet at TV, this is probably one of the big deals. Samsung's App Store is one of the better, more full-featured app stores we've seen lately. It includes stuff like Facebook, Twitter, Pandora, Netflix, Amazon VOD. It's stuff you can choose to add or remove, which is pretty nice, and you can select different things, and it's updated pretty frequently.
Sweet.
And because it's a net-connected TV too, you get your updates online as well. It is wireless ready, as you can buy a little USB stick that'll plug into the back, and you know what? That is available, but we have it hardwired right now. And the funny thing is, other than the HDMI ports, if you're going to connect just about any analog source to this TV, including its network jack,
you're going to be using the dongle.
There's a little bit of dongle action going on because of how thin this TV is. We're talking 0.9 inches. So
I was actually surprised they couldn't fit an Ethernet jack in that space.
They might have. It might have just been on the border or something had to give, and apparently that was it. Picture performance, I say far and away, out of the box. I switched this into its movie mode and measured some of the best performance I've seen on TV, and it showed visually when I'm looking at it. Color mixing, basically when you mix red, blue, and green to make a beautiful grayscale, it's important for accurate video representation. The tracking was spot on. I mean, from the darkest to the brightest grays, we're getting a straight line between red, blue, and green being mixed. Blue was slightly above the rest, which if you're going to have an air at all in a set, that's the one to have, and they apparently dialed it in, so they got it pretty close. They really left little work for me. Color gamut, where red, blue, and green is on a 2D map of the color, and that traces what colors can be generated by the screen itself. Factory calibration on this was clearly evident because all of the measurements measured within where I wanted them to be and where they should be according to the spec, which is really nice to see. It's not to say you couldn't improve on it with a little calibration, but out-of-the-box performance was superb, I have to admit. The backlight system, probably one of the interesting things about the 8000 series for for Samsung's LED lit LCD television is how they control an edge lit system to produce functions that we typically associate with direct lit LED systems, namely backlight management. In a sense, they're doing per pixel gamma control, which is a great way to change brightness levels on individual pixels to basically minimize haloing artifacts and other artifacts like that. Also, there's a 2D LED dimming system. So say you needed to create a darker spot right here, you could turn down the two LEDs here and here, and it would actually, because of the way the light's being guided, they're able to have that almost dynamic, or what do they call it? Would they have the full local dimming backlighting systems? But you're doing it with an edge lit system, which is pretty phenomenal. Now, a couple weeks ago, we were showing off that Panasonic edge lit system, one of their first LEDs, and I'd have to say that, like you mentioned, the black levels on this TV are far and away above what you're going to get out of something that's a little less expensive. As far as edge lit sets go. That was one of the big deals about this particular unit. Also, HD video processing, it was solid. So if you're feeding this 1080i out of your cable box, have no fear that this thing's going to take away any of that detail. It does a really nice job in terms of bringing it all to the screen. And admirable picture controls too, or admiring. I just admire everything as far as the picture setup goes. It includes some new stuff that they didn't have last year, namely a couple of built-in calibration screens for doing things like brightness and contrast, as well as color setup built right in, as well as instead of having to use the filter glasses for doing color and tint setup, it's got an RGB mode where you can switch off red and green, so you're only seeing the blue information and do those adjustments like that. Bottom line on this TV, really, it's one of the finest LCD LED televisions I've seen, and for an edge-lit model in particular. LG has some models that do the direct backlighting systems that can really produce amazing picture quality, and you can probably get that for a little bit cheaper. But for the edge-lit sets, the ultra-thin 1-inch thick design, or 0.9 inch, it is solid right out of the box. And you can tell that the factory did a really good job of calibrating these right then and there as they were being built, because granted, there's always some improvement to be made, but there really wasn't a lot that had to be tweaked to get accurate image quality out of this set.
That's a good thing.
Always, and I appreciate it. And I don't mind the dongles, especially when you're getting TVs this thin. There's a lot of these ports you probably wouldn't use anyway, so it's not like you've got a Christmas tree coming out of the back of it.
Well, you might not.
And I even like the remote. I gotta say, overall, and it's 3D.
Remotes. And it's 3D.
I like a good universal remote.
And the color looks good.
This is styling, I do admit. So.
He likes it, people. Is DLP dead? That's what Rich wants to know. He wrote in, I'm looking at getting a new HDTV. Are DLP sets worth a look along with everything else? I'm not space constrained, and I don't really care how thick the set is. There isn't much out there in the form of good reviews, and I was a little curious as you get a lot of screen for the dollar. Rich in Nashua, New Hampshire. There's one company left that's selling DLPs.
That's true. DLP, or as Texas Instrument, this is their technology.
We should say rear DLP projection televisions.
True.
The big box, football at your Uncle Jimmy's house in 1989.
Pretty much every big screen going back a few years, if you think about 5 years or beyond, or further back, they were all rear projection-based TVs. Now, DLP, or Texas Instruments' name for its digital light processing semiconductor technology, its death has been greatly exaggerated. These DLP chips feature a surface that's made up of many, many, many tiny little mirrors that can be individually tilted either toward the screen or away from the screen to reflect the light. Essentially, you're reflecting the light toward the screen or away from the screen on usually a per pixel basis, although for the rear projection TVs, they tend to drive actually 2 pixels with one mirror because it moves so quickly, or they can move that technology so fast. And you mentioned Mitsubishi. They are still the only manufacturer of DLP-based rear projection televisions, and Rich is correct in that these sets are an excellent value, and they are quite energy efficient for the given screen size. There are a few downsides to rear projection technology. Number one, cabinet depth. You're talking the box itself is going to be probably around 13 to 15 inches deep, although most base stands on TVs are about that deep anyway. Picture contrast with rear projection televisions is relatively weak, especially with the lamp-based displays. The LED illuminated rear projection TVs, if they're still doing those, I don't even know if Mitsubishi offers one. Mitsubishi does offer a laser-based television, though, that would basically offer similar performance. What I'm trying to say is that the black on a rear projection TV is not nearly as dark as the latest flat panels.
The black is gray.
It is. It can be pretty bright if you measure it. And uniformity. People don't really think about this, but if you put up a white screen on a rear projection TV, you're going to be looking at basically a hot spot in the middle, and the corners can be up to 1/3 as much light, which that's just, you can't really compensate for that. So that's something you're
not
just,
so bad for football games where it's a brightly lit frame across from edge to edge. Not so good if you're looking at a dark scene in a movie where all of a sudden, why is the center so much brighter than the corners? And then there's the best seat in the house on a rear projection TV is sitting directly in front of the TV dead center.
That's it, exactly. Viewing angle issues. It's actually very similar to the old LCDs in the sense that if you go off axis a little bit, you start losing picture performance in a big way, and that front and center is always going to be the best spot. However, this all pales in comparison to my biggest pet peeve with all rear projection TVs, and that is uncontrollable overscan. Essentially, that picture is being shot off the edges by about 5% or more. And that is simply to hide artifacts, maybe a curved edge to the picture or just some futz you don't want to see. There's really no way to correct that, and you are simply you're creating a softer picture by doing that, and there's really no way to come back from that. So if you're a video nut like me, it's not the TV for you. However, if you don't mind a little overscan, you just want that big screen picture, they are terrific values, I cannot deny. Now we have a question from Batsarai, who had a bone to pick with us about surround sound formats. Batsarai writes, to be quite honest with you, I can truly hear the difference between DTS Core and Dolby Digital AC3. DTS is a lot better. It sounds more lifelike. To hear the difference, a good test is the Alien vs. Predator 2006 DVD or Blu-ray, which contains an AC3 and a DTS soundtrack. Play the movie with the AC3 track on and then switch to DTS as the movie is playing. You'll experience this kick of realism. Yes. Please try it out, guys. I've been using my Samsung HT X30 home theater in a box kit. Signed, Batsarai.
Well, I've heard good things about the sound design on that particular Blu-ray, the Predators versus Aliens, but I'm not sure it's really a fair comparison. Aliens vs. Predator, like you mentioned, they have a lossless DTS HDMA high-definition audio track and the stock Dolby AC3 track, at least in French and Spanish. Dolby 5.1, Dolby AC3 is compressed, just like regular DTS is, and a lot of that lifelike realism may be lost in the compression. Personally, I think a more fair comparison would be the same soundtrack in DTS HD and Dolby True HD, which is also lossless. I'm pretty sure Close Encounters of the Third Kind Blu-ray has both DTS and Dolby, but they're both the compressed versions. I don't know of a single disc that has both the DTS HD and Dolby True HD. All of that said, I want to point out that our man in the control room, Roger Chang, he believes that some people find the DTS mixes to be more forward or more realistic because of the way they're mixed down. There do seem to be some differences in the way DTS or Dolby presents the information, but fundamentally it's the same thing. And I don't know. It's impossible. The problem is it's almost impossible to find a Blu-ray that has both DTS HD and the Dolby lossless compression, which means you can't really have a true A/B test, and so much of a surround soundtrack has to do with what the sound editors design into it. You know what I mean?
I'd be curious to try out the lossless formats being downsampled to a format, basically DTS or Core or Dolby, in a sense, for regular hardware. So you take those lossless formats, you strip them down so that they are compatible with older gear, and then compare those to see. But I will say I do hear a difference. I'm not sure if I've ever decided one's better than the other. I'm happy whenever there is a 5.1 soundtrack, especially with gaming. I just playing Gran Turismo 5 right now. I think it has a DTS HD soundtrack.
That's why you haven't been answering your phone.
I am. That game is horrible. Horrible. Don't play it. No, it's awesome. Hey, now it's time for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of December 21st, 2010. First up, Easy A, starring Emma Stone from Zombieland and Superbad. This film tells the story of a high school teen who agrees to pretend to sleep with guys to boost both their reputations. While it might sound like a cliche teen sex comedy, this film actually made it into our producer Roger's top 5 of 2010 list. He says it's smart and insightful, deals with teen sex in a mature way, and is pretty much the anti-American Pie. Emma Stone was even nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress in this film, plus it's full of John Hughes references, so it's definitely worth a look. Extras include Emma Stone's webcam audition footage, a gag reel, a making-of featurette, and a featurette titled The School of Pop Culture, Movies of the 80s. Next up, Salt. This movie stars Angelina Jolie as a CIA agent accused of being a Russian spy and spirals into a is she or isn't she political thriller. Is she a double agent, a triple agent, a quadruple agent? The plot does have some holes and the characters aren't the most well defined, but if you love 24 or the Bourne movies, you'll love this one. Our producer Serafina loves this movie because she owns the same motorcycle that Jolie rides on the freeway as part of her escape. With this Blu-ray release, you'll get the theatrical version, the director's cut, and the unrated version, as well as a ton of extras. A 30-minute segment with the cast and crew talking about making the film, a 27-minute radio interview with director Philip Noyce, and 5 other featurettes that last from 5 to 12 minutes each, talking about everything from special effects, Angelina's disguises, and even interviews with real former agents telling their own stories. Also released this week, Family Guy, It's a Trap. This is the third in the Family Guy's trilogy of Star Wars parodies. The first 2 were Blue Harvest and Something 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 Dark Side, which parodied Star Wars episodes 4 and 5. Now they're releasing the third, which will also air in early 2011 as the season 9 finale to Family Guy. Along with the regular Family Guy cast, this episode will also feature voice cameos from Patrick Stewart and Michael Dorn, the original Captain Picard and Commander Worf, Carrie Fisher, aka the original Princess Leia, and for some strange reason, Rush Limbaugh. And if you loved the first 2 but couldn't justify owning the discs, you'll be glad you held out, because also released this week is Laugh It Up Fuzzball, the Family Guy trilogy, which includes all 3 movies together. Other releases this week include 2010's Devil, Futurama Volume 5, 2005's The Matador, Orlando, Step Up 3, Step Up 3D, and Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. Hey, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, The Ben Heck Show, brought to you by Element 14. Join modding wizard Ben Heck and friends as they build and modify a host of amazing community-inspired creations. The Ben Heck Show is brought to you exclusively by Element 14, the online store and community for electronic design engineers. Be sure to catch the latest episode to see Ben build a military-grade ruggedized PS3 for some UAV pilots in Afghanistan. Catch the latest episode of The Ben Heck Show right here on Revision 3 at revision3.com/TBHS. A viewer by the name of Noodle Farm writes in, I just got off school for the hot Christmas holidays, and I have a ton of time off school and need some ways to prevent boredom, besides getting 15 prestige on Black Ops. Do you guys have any favorite techie projects that I can do on the cheap or out of old technology parts? I've done things like build a turntable out of an old hard drive, but was wondering if you guys knew any others or a place where I can find them. Preferably projects that use old PC parts, but even cheap stuff just for fun. Signed, thanks, Noodle Farm. Yeah. Hackaday.com comes to mind, as well as Instructables, MakeZine.com, and of course, Revision 3's own The Ben Heck Show.
And Hack 5.
I love his show.
Yeah,
I have fun watching it.
He is absolutely amazing.
I feel like I learn something every time.
I actually emailed James over at Hackaday for some more places to get project ideas. His favorites to follow include adafruit.com/blog. He says it's mostly a solid collection of stories found by Lady Ada and the other staff of Adafruit, as well as some original content. He says Gizmodo tends to pick up some technical stories from smaller blogs more often than places like Engadget or Slashdot, but you often have to wade through all sorts of other material to get to it. He also says, I'm a pretty avid Redditor myself, and there are some excellent subreddits for projects like this. He personally follows electrical and computer, engineering, DIY, geek, and technology. And he adds, though really Hackaday is all you should need, right? I'll let you know what else the staff comes up with. James. I hope that helps, Noodle, and if we get any more info from the Hackaday crew about good sites, we will pass it along in future episodes. We've gotten a lot of emails like this one from Josh in Virginia. Could you guys find out anything on this thing and maybe do a review of some sort? I really want to get my hands on one, but I don't know if it'll be worth it. Then they give us a link to Engadget's spiel on the Freebox V6 Revolution. I've got emails on this. I've got tweets on this. Mr. Heron, please explain the Freebox.
The Freebox was designed by Philippe Stark, and it has a Blu-ray drive, a hard drive, Wi-Fi N networking, yes, and it's all being driven by an Atom processor and promises streaming television and a lot of other things like phone service and maybe washing your dishes. Maybe not washing your dishes, no. It doesn't matter though, although, because as far as we can tell, it's only going to be offered by a French ISP called Free. That's free.fr.adsl. Could be that modem box too. So unless you're moving to France, it's probably not an option, unfortunately. It is a cool idea though, and it's kind of like the original Popcorn Hour boxes, but it looks like it could be the true do-it-all box in terms of bringing the content, video gaming. They're thinking of doing the video gaming in a sense where they stream the content to the system. But it could be the console, your gateway to the internet, and maybe your multimedia do-everything box.
Yeah.
It's like cool to see an ISP doing that.
It is cool to see an ISP. It would be much cooler to see an ISP in the United States doing that. Not to take anything away from French ISPs. It just, as far as we know, there's no plans of bringing it to the United States.
They're probably paying like $20 a month for that box too, with 100 megabit up and down. Just rub it in my face.
No, thank you. A good Brains digital camera help with SATA docs and tips from my first CES coming up next. But first, I want to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace.com. This is an amazing website that lets you build and host a website, personal portfolio, blog, whatever. Doesn't matter if you can code your way out of a paper bag or not, because Squarespace has tools to make it easy for anyone to create a high-end, complex website that is your own without paying a lot of money. Doesn't matter if you got a question at 4 a.m., because Squarespace also offers every user 24/7 support. They also just pushed a brand new social widget for geolocation services. Display your most recent check-ins from Foursquare, Gowalla, Facebook Places on a live Google map. Squarespace is the only web publishing platform with a native built-in solution for displaying your check-in data. The widget is totally customizable and fully integrated with the Squarespace style editor. Plus, you can use Squarespace's iPhone app to publish to your blog, moderate comments. It'll get push notifications so you know there's new comments. You can mark existing comments as spam, reply to your comments, and more, all from your iPhone, which is much more portable than your computer. Look, many of the internet's most highly trafficked web pages, powered by Squarespace. Many of the personal pages of Revision 3's hosts and personalities, powered by Squarespace. Want to get the best deal on a better website at Squarespace.com? Go to Squarespace.com, try it out for 2 weeks, and then when it's time to sign up, use the code TECHZILLA when you check out. You'll get 10% off for the lifetime of your order. That is a good deal. Hey guys, my husband and I love the show, and I've been thinking about buying a new camera. I'm looking at the Nikon Coolpix P100 and Canon's PowerShot SX30. The reviews on both are pretty mixed. Which one should I go with, or is there a camera out there you would suggest? Please help. It's for a Christmas gift, Katie. So both these cameras are what it's called like super zooms, they're bridge cameras, they're generalists, right? They're for people who don't want to spend the money for a DSLR with removable lenses, but want something bigger and more sophisticated than your typical pocket-sized point and shoot. They got big lenses and features. They tend to have small point and shoot sensors and not the best glass in terms of the optics. They're a compromise between features and price. They're not bad in a lot of things. They tend not to be stellar in any particular area, and they don't fit in your pocket. Picture quality, not the best. They're not going to be as good as a DSLR. They're not going to be as good as the most high-end pocket point and shoots, although we could argue that. The Canon's lens definitely has a longer reach. It's got a hot shoe, so you can use flashes with it and accessories. Nikon's got a faster burst mode and more image processing features like in-camera HDR, which helps take care of picture blooming and clipped highlights if you're working on these sort of extremes for very bright or very dark scenes. It's a bit of a toss-up. Roger spent a lot of time thinking about this one. He's leaning towards the Nikon, and I'll back him on that one. That said, if you're set on getting a mega zoom camera and want to spend less than $400, definitely check out Panasonic FC35. That's in North America. It's the FC38 in the rest of the world. It's an older model. It has a shorter reach than the Canon and fewer imaging processing features than the Nikon, but it's a very solid camera that has RAW modes and does shoot HD video at 720p, and you should be able to find it online for well under $300. You can also check out its newer sibling, the FC45, but you will pay more money. That camera, that Panasonic, is a really good deal.
That's what my buddy picked up.
Really?
Solid. Love
Nice.
it. Shoots video with it, takes pictures. It works pretty well.
I find myself going between wanting the smallest camera I can fit in my pocket and a big old DSLR with the most expensive glass
I have a similar
I can
camera
afford.
from a couple generations ago, and the thing I really noticed is the size of the glass on the front. It's pretty small, so I find the night shooting and the ISO speed puts a lot of noise in the picture, and that's something I try to avoid. But the newer cameras are definitely better at that.
One of the things that Lloyd Grunen's told us, our friend from CNET, who's the senior digital imaging editor, is that they tend to jump the megapixel size but not grow the sensor every other model, which means low light processing goes down. So shop carefully.
Definitely.
Read the reviews.
Viewer named Mark writes in, a while back, episode 97 to be specific, you guys talked about SATA drive docks. Veronica mentioned she likes Brando docks. I just started looking into these as an alternative to my current use of LaCie external hard drives for backing up the 4 internal drives on my MacBook Pro. Or my Mac Pro, not Book Pro, excuse me. I was gonna say, how do you get 4 drives into that thing? I started by checking out the Brando ones and were amazed at how many there are. But then I started researching these and other docks, and it seems many people are concerned about the fact that there are no cooling fans on these, even though only part of the drive is in the dock. People report that the drives can get very hot. So I was hoping you guys could give me some advice about this. Is there really any problem with overheating the drives with these docks? Are some of the docks out there better at cooling than others? Any recommendations? Thanks, signed Mark.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, a lot of people never realize that all drives get really hot because they're usually inside of your computer or inside of your notebook. And, you know, if your notebook's hot, you figure it's the processor, and you probably don't reach down and touch your desktop PC case a lot. That said, there's a reason most really nice drive enclosures include a small fan at the back to try to get some airflow over the drive and keep the temperatures down. Frankly, if you're just using it to back up, that means you're going to be using it for several hours at the most, backing up your data like, you know, once or twice a day. I wouldn't sweat it too much. Go for one that exposes a lot of the drive. And if you are feeling super paranoid, you know, get a fan or buy a proper enclosure with a fan inside.
I picked up a product, I think it's from Vantage, Vantech maybe. Vantech, I'll bet you that is. And it's simply a USB adapter that on the other end, it has a dongle for SATA and IDE and the mini IDE used on 2.5-inch drives. And it'll allow me to essentially connect any drive to it, and it's not really enclosed by anything. And then I don't have to worry about temperature, because I ended up with a stack of, I kid you not, about 8 hard drives sitting on my desk, and I was like, some of them were for old computers, and I wanted to pull data off. This is really easy to go through different format types. About half of them were the old IDE, most of them were SATA, but I had a mix of both, and I'm just sitting there switching between them both, and I was loving it. It was just moving data around in an easy way, and it was like a $20 part I had to pick up. So this will work with just about any hard drive I have.
You know, the docks are kind of nice because they basically let you slide the drive in there. I be honest with you, I don't worry that much about the temperatures the drive are hitting, because I know the airflow over the drives in my desktop sucks, and, you know, they're not dying.
Cooling issues.
Cooling issues. Well, you could tilt it on its side. Maybe the heat will radiate more. Anyhow, we got one last email before we go. Hello, Patrick and Robert. Next January will be my first CES as registered press. I'll be on my own taking notes from everything I can. Any advice or tips for a newbie? Eduardo in La Plata, Argentina.
Yep.
Number 1, hydrate.
Yep.
Drink water constantly.
You got to split it, though. I say about 50-50 water and Gatorade.
Right.
Because if you drink just water, you'll find you can never drink enough. I don't know what it is about the dry air there, but there's unbelievable.
There's no moisture in the air, and you're talking constantly to people, so your voice will go. You'll be dehydrated. A lot of people drink. They stay up late. You will collapse by day 2. Speaking of which, comfortable shoes. You'll be walking miles mostly over concrete, which is why there's these crazy 3-inch padded rugs in half the booths, because they want you to get in there and get comfortable, and then one of their booth people can assault you with a pitch.
Yeah, it's not the time to be trying out a brand new pair of shoes you've never taken on a serious walk before. That's not the time.
No.
Unless you're 100% sure that those are going to be comfortable.
And how long does it take to get from point A to point B?
Lots and lots of time. You have an extra 100,000 people in town, and everything takes forever. The monorail is darn handy. Use it if you can, because the cab lines can take forever, and it can cost you an arm and a leg getting across town, especially if you're staying at different casinos that might be over by the Strip, or the casino's over practically on the other side of town. And that, for me, is, I think the tram is probably my favorite part. It just makes it easy, and the hydration. Those are the 2 main rules I have.
And stay out of the casinos.
Oh, no.
Okay, you can win at blackjack. Everybody else I know leaves money behind and tries to figure out where the right wins. I'm not even touching that, dude. That was. And remember, what happens in Vegas only stays in Vegas if you don't talk about it on Facebook or post it on YouTube. And did you know Techzilla's on Facebook, facebook.com/Techzilla. Do us a favor, show us some love, tell your friends about Techzilla.
Hey, and send us a question, please. Email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Twitter us, @Patrick Norton, @Robert Aaron, @Veronica. How did she get that? @Techzilla.
She's like the 8th person on Twitter. Awesome. Tech Help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need your questions, so don't be shy. Send them in to techzilla@revision3.com.
Hey, thank you so much for watching, everyone.
I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Aaron.
Until next time, you've been watching Techzilla.
Yeah. I also say, don't take money out with your credit card.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
The interest rates are crazy. 20%.
Cash home.
Patrick Norton from Techzilla here. Normally, I talk about tech. Today, I'm talking charity, bringing water to people in need, along with your chance to drive this awesome 2012 Ford Focus before anybody else in the world. As in driving the snot out of it on the test tracks of the National Institute of Aerospace Technology in Madrid, Spain. And sending me along with you to make sure this 200 horsepower direct injected corner carving beastie gets a serious workout. Let me explain. All of us here at Revision 3 have partnered with Charity Water this season. For every $5,000 we can raise, a village gets a well. That means clean water for a generation or more. Seriously, you can donate, even $1 will help, at revision3.com/charitywater. Now Ford's getting ready to release this 2012 Focus in early 2011. Don't ask me why 2012 equals 2011. Ask me how the built-in torque vectoring and advanced track stability control keep this puppy sticky through the turns, or how awesome the My Ford Touch and voice-activated sync work with my phone, or how frickin' epic the parking technology packages. It parallel parks for you. You should be excited about your chance to drive the 2012 Ford Focus before it goes on sale. Ford's taking a whole crew of people just like you to the INTA testing grounds in Madrid, Spain for the Ford Focus Global Test Drive. Want to go? Create a video and submit it to facebook.com/FordFocus. Want me to go with you? Please take a moment to vote for this video on revision3.com/FordFocus. If enough folks vote, I might get to join you in Madrid, and Ford will donate $10,000 to Charity Water in Techzilla's name. That's clean water for 2 villages, people. And wait, hold on. Revision 3 is going to match that 10 grand, so that's clean water for 4 villages. Sweet, huh? Please vote for me at revision3.com/FordFocus and enter for your chance to win and go to Madrid, Spain and drive the 2012 Ford Focus at facebook.com/FordFocus.
With this Blu-ray release. Join modeling wizard Ben Heck and friends as they sorry. I'm just like I got skin on the brain. Noodle Farm writes in. Noodle Farm. Ooh,
Time for a package check. Run, Roger, run!
All the burning now. I was about to.
Just a new bowl.
Oh, okay. Awesome. You want me to read this one?
Oh, sorry, I thought it was you. My bad.
Blah, blah, blah.
In 3 through 1.